Good evening, everybody, and welcome to a 9 p.m. edition of the Huddle Show. I'm Bruce Hooley. I have to sneeze, so I'm going to mute my mic. Fake you out. And that is Lyle Suddy, folks. I told you I had to sneeze. Sorry. Hi there, Mr. Folks. How are you? Proof we are doing this Huddle Show.
I'm the one burning the matches. I don't know why you're sneezing.
Because I'm fighting.
That's how I am. That's how I am.
You know why I'm doing
and
it.
somebody told me about 30 minutes ago, another Monday, a different time for the Monday Huddle Show. I said, The good news is Bruce only has 6 more kids to go through school and play sports.
That's right. Only 2 more. So,
hang in there.
We're working the senior through the high school tournaments right now. A not very close first round game tonight. They managed to squeak by 57-8. So we'll have, excuse me, some more scores like that, I'm sure, in coming days, most often in girls' first rounds. But we have some matchups that we'll talk about that will be decidedly lopsided. It's unfortunate, but everybody gets in the tournament. And if you get a high seed in the first round, and my daughter's team is fortunate to be the 4th seed in the Central District D2, this happens. But we'll have a guy who's gone all the way through the tournament not too long ago, Kurt Gettemuller of Marion Local, will join us tonight, and we will talk about the Flyers. They are the 4 seed, I believe. Is it the Wapak region that they are in, Sonny?
I think they're the 2 seed, actually.
I don't think so. I think they're the 4.
You think it's the 4?
I think they're the 4, but you could be right, but I think they're the 4. We'll see. We know we have New Bremen as a 1, and we know that we have Versailles as a 1, and I believe Botkins is a 1 on the boys' side. On the girls' side, of course, Fort Laramie, defending D4 state champ, is a 1, and Tri-Village, which aspires to that same Division 4 state championship, is also a 1.
You know what it sets up for is some really interesting regional action and district finals because, I think I wrote in my column that was on earlier today, you take those, I had a column where I said, here's the 5 best of girls and boys that I've seen that I think portend the best chance of making an extended tournament run, getting at least to a district final, maybe even into the regionals. And honestly, with boys and girls both, I think you could throw a pie plate over all of them. They're that close. And, that makes for a great climactic finish when you get to that deep into the tournament. And as you just said a moment ago, those ugly games in the early rounds, I've always said, why do those have to be played? It's just like football. And I actually had somebody wrote in on the Reader Speaks just yesterday and said, I just read I have here in front of you a column I wrote a couple of years ago that if you don't win a minimum number of games, you don't qualify to play in the state basketball tournament, which I think is a good idea. Maybe not for the OHSAA because less games mean less tickets and less revenue, but it sure makes for better basketball. And it also kind of condenses that thing down to maybe 2 or 3 weeks. And guys, think about this: kids getting a couple of weeks off or 3 weeks off to either rest or reacclimate their body to between winter sports and basketball and softball and baseball or track or whatever they do in the spring. That seems to make sense to me too. But if you're selling tickets and trying to make money on this thing, it makes no sense at all.
Well, I will go on my little mini rant here, and I'm sorry if this offends anybody at the OHSAA, but it is absolutely not, in my opinion, a customer-friendly viewpoint to make everybody pay $8 to get into a tournament game. You don't give a senior rate, you don't give a student rate, and tell me why you have to buy your ticket by 4 p.m. to get it for $8, and if you don't buy it by 4 p.m., it's $10. Like, everything is done electronically. So this is just a way for them to ding you an extra $2 per ticket for those who don't buy their tickets in advance. Well, some people's plans change. You don't know if you're going to get out of work early. You don't know if you're going to get out of work late. We are in the wintertime. There are road conditions that intrude. There are people who have more than one child. Maybe they're late getting out of play practice or band practice, or they got to stay home. You can't find a babysitter. So I just think the OHSAA, it's a naked grab for money. I'm sorry. I like a lot of people at the OHSAA. I would tell this to Doug Ute. I'd tell it to other friends that we have there. But just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do it. And I think that customers remember this, and I think it builds in some resentment that is completely and totally the creation of the Ohio High School Athletic Association that does not need to be there. That's just my personal view of it.
Well, here's another personal view I have. I mean, we live in a day where you have to compete for a lot of things for people's expendable money, and it better be good. And if you just paid $8 to see 58-7 or whatever you said the score was, that ain't good. And frankly, I would not pay that, and a lot of people won't. And they're in a competition right now for movies, for whatever else is out there, going to dinner, whatever. There's a lot of options now that didn't used to exist when tickets for a tournament game were $3, $4, $5. And, it is what it is. It's a value. It's a buyer's market now. I don't care what the service or the product is. People are going to shop around and they're going to make a good buying decision. And 58-7. And please don't tell me, well, you're doing it to support the kids. Not anymore. I mean, people don't necessarily think in those terms. They're thinking, what's the best way I can spend $8, $10, or $12 or $15, depending on what level of the tournament it is that you're going to see.
Well, and let me build in another part of that. I mean, I consider myself to be extremely middle class on income. And I think a lot of the people who are Press Pros readers and like me have kids who play sports, and it's really not an option not to go if your child is playing. And you sometimes don't have an option, but you take the whole family. We're talking about gas right now at $3.30 a gallon, $3.25 a gallon. Our family gas bill last week for 3 drivers, 2 people driving to work, 1 person driving to school. We spent $160 in gas last week for 3 vehicles. We don't drive an inordinate amount, maybe a little bit more than the average person, but I think most of the people in our coverage area are probably spending somewhere in the neighborhood to $200 to $300 a week in gas. And so when you're charging people an extra $2 per ticket to a state high school tournament game just because you can, because, they forgot to buy it online by 4 p.m., again, I'll say it's something the Ohio High School Athletic Association can do, but it's not necessarily something that I think builds a friendship with your customers, and people remember those kinds of things. And I think it also is not fair to the local athletes who would be getting more support from their home fans or from fans who travel and support them on the road, particularly in first and second round games, if in fact you weren't feeling like you were getting charged more than you have to be charged to go see a game. So with that, we'll transition and talk about the games, but it's a tough time for a lot of people economically right now. I understand it's a tough time for the OHSAA, but I think they could be a little bit more sensitive to the need that people have in the rural areas of the state of Ohio right now. And I would welcome that, conversation with Doug Ute or with his board of directors or with his commissioners or anybody else. And we didn't even talk about this before the show tonight, but we just sort of got into it, and that is where we will leave it. So we will talk about the Super Bowl at some point in time. We will assess the high school tournaments, but right now we are fortunate to have a gentleman with us who has distinguished himself as one of the finer coaches in the area. He is Kurt Gettemiller of Marion Local. And Kurt, I'm going to take the graphic away so we can see your handsome face, and we appreciate you coming on the show tonight.
Hey, appreciate you having me, Bruce and Sonny. Glad to be here.
That's our version of face guarding right there when we put that banner across.
Sometimes people would like to see my face guarded like that. So,
well, tell us about the Flyers, Kurt. And, I have not seen you yet. I'm really looking forward to seeing you because I like teams that play hard. I like teams that hustle. I like teams that get the most out of their talent. That's a tribute to you. I have seen your teams play on television and in the state tournament over the years. I've not seen these particular young men play basketball. I've, of course, seen them play football. But talk about what you like about your team this year and where you think you are at this point in the season as you're getting ready to go into the tournament.
I'm really pleased with where we're at. I certainly am surprised that we're 16-4 right now, 7-1 in our league, and we got a chance to win the league Friday if we can go over to Knoxville and get a win. But I think we've surprised some people this year. But the one thing I would say our team has been all year is we've been really resilient. We've suffered some close, tough losses, and we have been able to respond the very next day, coming back and getting some wins against some really quality opponents. And even within games, we've been down in some games and have been able to come back and really, either make a run at the end or pull out some wins. And I just think our team has been really resilient all year.
Mr. Folks, are you still with us, or are you frozen up?
Yeah, I mean, I was just sitting here thinking about, Kurt, I've seen you like 4 or 5 times this year, and the thing that impresses me, I don't think in any 2 games the same player has stepped up and had a big night for you. I've seen Peyton Audie go off and have a great game. I've seen Jack Kanapke. I've seen a number of kids on a given night come out, Brady Ronabaum, and really play well and give you that lift. I don't know how you do that. I don't know if that's genetics. I don't know whether that's coaching. I don't know if you can take credit for that, the genetics part of it. But, you seem to have that charm with that club where on a given night you have somebody that's capable of picking up the other 4.
Yeah, I agree with that, Sonny. We do have kids. Our starters, we barely have one guy that's averaging double figures. I think Jack might be in double figures barely, but we have 5 kids when we put them on the floor starting the game that are all capable of scoring. Brady had a big weekend for us last weekend. Brady Ronabaum, he had 19 and 17 points in the 2 games. Tate Hess has come on as of late, and obviously when you got a 6'8" postman in the middle, he's capable of big games. But all of our starters are good, and you got to guard them. Jaden Mesher was in double figures earlier in the year. And Peyton Audie certainly is capable as well, and he's an excellent defender. So, as you mentioned, it would be kind of hard to prepare for us a little bit because you don't know who can maybe hurt you on a given night.
Kurt, is that something you like about your team, or would you rather have that one guy that you're pretty sure when you start tonight that guy's going to get you 17, 18, 20?
Well, we a lot of times play through our big man, Jack Kanapke. So, we're certainly counting on him, hopefully on most nights to get us double digits. You always want to play through that post player. But, if teams double down like we may see tomorrow night with Walthawk and some teams like that, he's got to have the ability to find open people. And then, Brady Ronabaum is a veteran guard out front. He's been, a player on our varsity team for 3 years now. And so, I would kind of consider those 2 guys maybe our go-to guys. But when other guys can step up and score on a given night, it's definitely more difficult to defend.
Your competitive qualities are off the chart. You and I've talked about this a number of times, in the hallway outside the locker room. It's one of the things you almost always say. I really like the way we competed tonight. This goes back to the 2018 game when you beat Cornerstone for the Division IV title. And just frankly, I thought outcompeted them. And you have a knack of doing that. I know people up there say, well, it relates to football and how hard we play and in all the sports. But some of that has to come from a culture. And a lot of that has to do with coaching. And I got to give it to you. Beth Stripe's got it in her girls too. You've got it. The other sports seem to have it. What do you attribute that to besides the water there in the community of Mariastein?
Well, there's certainly a culture in our school, and our parents do a great job of instilling a lot of that as well. And certainly Coach Goodwin, when he got there 20 years ago, he brought, a lot of that type of culture to where we had belief that we could win if, as long as we compete. But, that's one of, we have 5 core values in our basketball program, and one of them is compete. Don't worry about the score. The score is going to take care of itself, but worry and focus on really playing hard every night. And if you do that, good things are going to happen. So we preach that and we talk about it a lot. And, I think it rubs off on the older players. They're competing and it rubs off on the younger players. And it's just something over time that gets stronger and stronger. And like I said, competing is one of our core values. So, it's been good for us. That's for sure.
Kurt Gettemiller, the head coach at Marion Local, is our guest here on the Huddle Show. And the Flyers, you open in the tournament against New Knoxville. Am I correct?
Yeah, we actually close with them the regular season this Friday, like I mentioned. And that's, if we win that game over at New Knoxville, we'll tie for the league championship, which would be a great accomplishment for us. But then we have to turn around and play them already the following Wednesday. So it's going to be a little bit difficult in that you're going to have to see the same team 2 times in 5 days.
How much, Kurt, is there strategizing on that day of the drawing where you're faced with, I think you're the 4 seed, if I'm correct.
Right, that's correct.
Grabbing your spot on the bracket. You've done this a long time. Maybe take us through like what you're looking for, or is there a thing where you really don't overthink it? You're the 4, and when you go, like if the spot is there opposite one of the top 2, you kind of have to take it because 3 goes on the bracket ahead of you, so you're kind of sometimes limited in where you go as the 4.
Yeah, the tournament draw is a lot of fun, and I probably overthink it. We think about it for weeks in advance, and where your positioning is going to be, what your seed's going to be. And we lost to Spencerville in overtime the night prior to the draw, and it probably cost us a top 2 seed in a tournament bye. So we fell all the way to the 4 seed. There's so many good teams in our district this year. There's 8 really good teams. 1 through 8 really could come out of our district and could be seeded anywhere. But anyway, when we were the 4 seed, we just basically there was an open bracket and we took it. But, there's a lot of angst going into that tournament draw. And the one thing, I would love to see 2 things happen. Really, I would love to see the Northwest District go to, even a bigger super sectional where we have, 20 to 30 teams as opposed to 12 or 14 in a sectional. Now, I don't know that is ever going to happen, but the one thing we're not allowed to do in the Northwest District is we're not allowed to pass. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you're a sitting duck as a top seed, and you're just sitting and you have teams behind you, and you're worried, is this team going to jump in your bracket or is that team going to jump in your bracket? Whereas in the Southwest District, they're allowed to pass if they want and have other teams behind them place themselves on the board. So that's a little bit of a disadvantage sometimes when you're a top seed. But overall, it's worked out. It's a lot of fun doing that tournament draw. And no matter this year, there was nowhere to hide because there were 8 good teams. So you're going to have to beat somebody pretty darn good to get out of this sectional this year.
I'm kind of surprised I'm kind of surprised there could be 2 different procedures in the same division in different districts.
Yeah, I think what they say at the sectional and district level is that those regional districts, the Northwest, Southwest, and so forth, they're supposed to run their own tournaments there. And then when it gets to the regional level, then it's kind of more controlled by the state. So there is a little leeway and some differences you'll find at the sectional and district level.
We'll be covering the Piqua sectional in Division 4 here Friday night, and that has been for decades and decades considered one of the premier sectional tournament venues in any place in Ohio. And I've seen a few of them in Southeast Ohio, and of course the Piqua. But I'm leading up to saying what you do in Wapakoneta, that is as competitive. It's a beautiful gym. They do a superb job of hosting that there. And actually, because you play so many rival teams from your own league, that has to be a fun. I know it's one and you could be done, but still there has to be an element of fun for the kids to go out there and play a New Bremen or a St. Henry or somebody they're familiar with.
Yeah, and I've been to that Piqua sectional a few times, and it really gets super loud in there. The environment is tremendous, and I would say our venue at Walpock no doubt rivals that as maybe some of the best sectionals in the state. As you mentioned, a lot of times we're playing league teams that know each other so well, and it's a lot of angst when you get there because you're going to be playing 2 good teams to try to get out, and it's a lot of fun. It's a great environment. I would put Piqua and Walpock right as 1 and 1A as 2 of the best sectionals in the state.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you taking the time to join us tonight, and I hope things go well for you guys. Good luck on your Friday night game, getting a share of the league championship. That would indeed be quite an accomplishment. The kids from Marion are a joy for us to cover. You and Tim do a great job. All your coaches do a great job over there. I really love the discipline in your program, the way your kids pull for each other, and the spirit in your community. It's great for us to be on the fringes of that and to experience that. So we certainly wish you a long tournament run this year.
Well, thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Sonny, for having me. We really appreciate the coverage anytime you guys come out and cover us, and you guys have a good night.
Thank you very much, Coach.
Well, let me share this. Let me share this before you get away. Every time we go up there, it's a great experience, and you guys couldn't be greater hosts and more appreciative of just the effort that goes in for people to come in and cover the Flyers and cover the MAC conference, and we appreciate that as well. And that's a great relationship. We always look forward to it.
Thank you. As I mentioned, we really enjoy your coverage. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Coach. Have a
good
weekend. Bye-bye. Kurt Gedemiller joining us. Nice to have him on and get his perspective. Those Marion kids obviously win at a high level, Sonny, and I think winning, builds an expectation of winning, and they certainly have that at Marion Local. And I wouldn't count them out. Like he said, any one of 8 teams could come out there. New Bremen is the top seed, but Marion Local is a 4. He was talking about the bracket and picking his spot on the bracket. And I didn't ask him this because I didn't want to put him in a situation where he has to brag on his own team or brag on his own tradition. But my supposition would be that Marion has a style of playing, and Marion has displayed an attitude and a commitment over the years, that Marion is one of those teams that you're hoping you don't land next to on the bracket in the first round because of the way the Flyers play and what their tradition has been.
Well, and to the point that I made to him, another reason why you don't want to play them is because you're not going to – odds are you're not going to be lucky enough to go out and shut them all down. Yeah. He mentioned Tate Hess, Brady Ronnebaum, Jack Kanapke. It goes on and on. Mesher, Peyton Noddy. Any one of those kids on a given night can get hot and score 20, 25 points. I've seen it time after time after time. And, when you scheme and you prepare to go out and play a tournament team, a good team like that in a tournament where it is one and done, it is very hard to account for all 5, because if you don't know which one of them is going to have the night of their life, and that seems to happen a lot with Marion. I don't know why. And it happens, with other basketball teams. Yeah. Tip City's a pretty good example. We've talked about Stanley Klein the other night, went off for 34 against Pickwick, scored 33 in the first game, bested that in the second game. But they've also, got other kids there like Gavin Garlitz that can score 25 points on a given night, had 7 the other night. So that's what makes Marion. It's what makes New Bremen. It's what makes Versailles such a strong contender, in this postseason, because on any given night, of those 5 kids out there, you don't know which one of them might come back to bite you.
Well, and I think, that's definitely true of Fort Loramie girls as well. I mean, you talk about last year in the regional semis against Minster, if you're Fort Loramie, you got to shut down Ivy Wolf. If you're Minster, you're not expecting Jaden Putoff to score 21 points. I mean, you're worried about Kenzie Holscher or somebody like that. You're not worried about Jaden Putoff. She had a phenomenal game in her regional semis. And that balance is, sometimes you need to have somebody step up for you on the night that your star or the person that you're counting on has an off night, or the other team does a nice job defensively on them. Maybe they don't have an off night, but they just take them away. And if they're an unselfish player, they'll find the open player. And it's to any team's credit that they have somebody who can step into that breach and provide a big night. Some of the games you mentioned, Coach Gedemiller mentioned, you run into a MAC team very often in that WAPOC regional. New Bremen could do that. They're the top seed. They've got a bye. They could catch St. Henry in their initial game. It would be St. Henry's second game. We talked about Marion Local playing New Knoxville. Friday night at Piqua, we've got Jackson Center against Houston, 2 teams from the SCL playing it off. And then right after that one, Troy Christian from the TRC is taking on Sidney Lehman. So there's an intra-conference battle. Some other games here. Botkins will begin its defense of its state championship 4 p.m. on February the 19th. They are at Piqua. Right after that, Russia takes the floor. Bradford will play after that. So you get to see 3 area teams that night if you're headed to the Piqua sectional. I believe that's Saturday night, 2/19.
Right, the 19th.
And Tip City is the 5 seed. They will take on Eaton at 3 p.m. on Saturday afternoon. Milton Union plays at 11 a.m. at Kettering on Saturday against Waynesville. Anna will make its debut on February the 24th against Greenon. And that game is at Western Brown. And I got to tell you, I don't know where Western Brown is. Where is Mount Orab, Ohio, Sonny?
Well, it's down, I think, in, I guess it'd be in Brown County or down someplace down in Southwest Ohio in that area down there. But, that's a long way to go.
There's a long way to go.
You pass a lot of pretty good gyms along the way if you're Anna to have to go all the way down to Brown County to play. So, you always wonder who makes these decisions about where they're going to play. So one of these days you're going to see where the better seed gets to host the game, because it makes a lot of sense. It's not necessarily, people say, well, it's kind of fun, to go play on a neutral court and it's kind of exciting for the kids. I've never met a kid yet that wouldn't rather roll out of bed and go play in their own gym and then go home and play and eat pizza with their buddies. So that doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but I think that day's coming.
A couple other boys games. First round, Covington plays on February 17th, which is Thursday. They debut at 5:30 p.m. at Northmont. And Miami East plays on the 23rd of February, 6 p.m. at Vandalia Butler High School. And that, of course, is where a lot of the Division IV teams feed into. That is where Botkins won its regional a year ago. That's where the girls head. Tri-Village, number 1 seed in the Troy region. On the girls' side, they start on Wednesday night, 5:30, but they are not at Troy. They are at Trotwood. That is where their opener is. The Botkins girls are the 3 seed in the Troy 2 district. They play tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Russia debuts also right after that one at 7:30. So those are our main teams that we are looking at on the girls' side. On the small school division, of course, we have, I think, 4 teams in the Central District ranked in the top 10 in the state: Kaufman, Reynoldsburg, Newark, and I want to say Westerville South. I'm not sure about that, but we have really strong girls teams in Central Ohio, and that's like one of those 40-plus team districts that Coach Gettemiller was talking about. You really got to fight your way out of that one. So we'll have our eye on the Central District and our eye on all the Southwest District, the Wapak, the Troy, all the districts that we have covered in the past.
I don't necessarily pay attention to this. I'm not a historian of basketball for the sake of a statement like this, but I can't remember a year where there have been more teams of expectation as there are this year. Now, there's always number 1 seeds, but number 1 seeds doesn't necessarily mean that people expect you to get to the regional round of the tournament. Well, they expect that at Tri-Village. I think they have a high expectation for that for Botkins. They're the defending state champions in Division IV. They've had some injury issues up there, but they're still a very, very good team. I guarantee you the coach that we just had on here has got that kind of expectations for his team at Marion Local. You look at even a team that I think is outside that bubble of expectation, like Milton Union, or 16, 17-4, maybe 18-4 at this point. There's another team that can sneak up on you and do damage. Troy Christian is one. I've been kind of pushing Tip City here because I've seen them play so much this year, and I like the style with which they play because they have so many shooters. They can even bring kids in off the bench that can shoot the 3-point shot. So I just think there's a lot of teams. New Bremen's another one. Teams out of the MAC. Certainly Versailles. They've been waiting for years to break through in Versailles since the days of Kyle Arns. And then Justin Arns came along. And this year they've got size. They've got experience. They've got some depth. So again, when you mentioned girls with Loramie and Tri-Village and some of the other area teams that are around, Russia, you can't overlook them. Minster. Minster hasn't had their typical breakout year, but they're still so well coached. You have to respect them. New Knoxville, a number 1 seed that just won and ran the table in the MAC to win that league title. I don't think I can remember a year where there has been so many teams of expectation.
Yeah, I was remiss in leaving out New Knoxville. They are top seed. They play their debut 7 p.m. on February the 16th. Minster and Fort Recovery could end up playing each other in that same district. New Bremen debuts on the 19th at 1 p.m. Their girls team, Marion Local, is the 2 seed, and Marion Local will play at 1 p.m. on the 19th at Lima Shawnee. So we definitely have a lot of good girls teams. And yeah, you're right. The Versailles boys, top seeded in their district, they will debut on February the 23rd, 7:30 p.m. at Butler. They lost a heartbreaker last year down at Butler in the district, and they obviously have more experience this year. Connor Stonebreaker's much more experienced. The McEldownies are much more experienced. Those guys were all part of Versailles' Ryan Jones State Championship team in football. So that winning culture, which we talked about with Marion Local, definitely applies to Versailles. They've got really good athletes, and they are expecting a deep tournament run as well. Most people were not expecting a deep postseason run by the Cincinnati Bengals, except this guy picked them to win the AFC North way back in September. And I grew up a Browns fan, have been a Browns fan. I do not find the Browns to be a team that's easy to like because of the attitudes of some of their guys like Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham. So I was rooting my little tail off last night for the Cincinnati Bengals to win that Super Bowl. And I am of the opinion that they got royally hosed by the officials on the last drive by the LA Rams. I'm very sad that the Bengals lost the Super Bowl 23-20.
Well, I think the officials probably didn't help them out because I, like you, and we talked about this before we came on tonight, that game was officiated for 3 quarters one way. And then in the final quarter, they cracked down on, hands. They called holding on Logan Wilson on that one play. I don't have any problem with the penalty they called on Eli Toast Apple, at the goal line there on that pass interference call. But
I have a big problem with the penalty in the back of the end zone on Von. Was that on Von Bell? The hit, he hit you too hard. Like, that penalty drives me crazy. It's football. You're supposed to let the guy catch the game-winning touchdown pass in the Super Bowl, or you try to hit him and separate him from the football. To flag that play was ridiculous.
Well, the issue that really came back to haunt the Bengals were their deficiencies on the offensive line, and I think what their deficiencies are in the secondary. I don't think they're very good in either one of them, frankly. And what concerns me more than them losing yesterday is I think they have and I've never been a pro football fan. Not necessarily. And the reason why it doesn't have anything to do with the Browns or the Bengals, I've always questioned the integrity of it because there were almost $750 million bet on that game yesterday. And when there's that much money at stake, you always wonder, is it legitimate? Did somebody conveniently drop a pass, or was there a call made? Or I don't want to go into that necessarily, but it doesn't interest me because of that. But what does interest me is the fact that I'm a big Joe Burrow fan. I really admire him, and I think he's going to get killed because I know Mike Brown is too cheap to go out and spend the money necessary to take the next step to make them competitive, consistent, and give themselves a chance to get back to the Super Bowl in something less than 31 years. I don't expect that to happen. And then when in 3 or 4 years, when it comes around where he's got to pay Joe Burrow, he's got to pay Higgins, he's got to pay Jamar Chase, he's got to pay Tyler Boyd. It's bon voyage, boys, because, we're a small market team, and we may be the one of the richest teams because we don't spend any money, but we can't afford to pony up and pay the price of poker. So that's what bothers me the most about the Bengals. And this is not just something that you see over the last 5 years. This has gone on since the old man died. And their management style befuddles me. And if I was a fan, it would be very hard to be a fan of the Bengals.
Well, I'll say this. They've been to the Super Bowl 3 times. That's 3 times more than the Cleveland Browns.
That's true. That's
if you're waiting. And let me say one thing about Chris Collinsworth, okay? I keep hearing Chris Collinsworth is like the greatest analyst of all time. Chris Collinsworth is a company man. Because when he had the chance yesterday to light the officials up over that bogus call on Logan Wilson, he took the company route and didn't say a word. And he also made an inane statement late in the game that he's never seen two guys deliver more in the clutch than Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp. Does Chris Collinsworth have a twin brother who played in 2 Super Bowls against Joe Montana and Jerry Rice? Or is that the same Chris Collinsworth who was in the booth last night? Because I would think if you watch Joe Montana drive the 49ers down the field to beat your Bengals in the Super Bowl, you would not make an inane statement like Matthew Stafford, who almost lost that game for the Rams by constantly overthrowing guys. He was trying hard to lose that game. The officials just wouldn't let him do it. And so, yeah, I'm down on Collinsworth right now because I thought he did a lousy job of analyzing that game, taking the company route to preserve his paycheck.
I can honestly say I'm glad it's over. I enjoy high school football. I enjoy college football. I'm glad it's over. We move on to I think one of the more exciting points of the year. You're a basketball fan. I'm a basketball fan.
I am.
I get that. The thing is to put the ball in the hoop, and I enjoy seeing that. I enjoy this tournament season that's coming up immensely. I say it again: if you don't win 8 games in a regular season, you have no business of playing in the state tournament. I don't care if you hate me for saying that or not. Look, I'm a quality over quantity guy. And people say, well, the kids get to experience the tournament. Then let them work to earn that experience. Don't bore the rest of us with 58-7. What was it tonight? 57-8?
58-7.
58-7. Well,
running clock in the second half. Starters out the entire second half of the third quarter and fourth quarter.
I stand by that because that's the way I was raised. I didn't play at Marion Local or a team known for its competitive instinct, but I know I grew up with a bunch of kids that had to earn their way to any time they got to play anything, whether it's in school or Little League. You had to go out and bloody somebody's nose to do it. And so that's how I grew up. And I think that's good for kids. I think it's better than just to say, here's a gift for you. Go out and get beat by 49 points in the tournament and remember what a great experience it was.
So this is the next month is the best, season of basketball you're going to get. I mean, the tournaments are phenomenal and it's heartbreak. It's exultation. It's just like the postseason in football, but you don't have to wait for a game, on Friday night and Saturday night. We got games almost every night of the week. So we're really looking forward to covering the Central District and covering our districts over in the Southwest and in Western Ohio and all that. We are big fans of basketball. And you know what else we're big fans of, Sonny? We're big fans of our friends at Lehman's Old Time General Store. Yes, we are.
Never mention them.
And you can win a $50, right there it is, a $50 Lehman's gift card every month. Every month. They are an exclusive sponsor of our Lowdown, which we do about 4 times a week. You find the video on the front page, the homepage of PressProsMagazine.com. So email us, PressProsContest@gmail.com. PressProsContest@gmail.com. And all you have to do is say, I want to win. I want to win. We also have some cool items like I've been talking about, the Para-Hatchet. This is what you need to prune your apple trees, Sonny folks. This Para-Hatchet right here. Or this hand crank solar radio, shortwave radio, or any of the other cool items that I've demonstrated from Lehman's. And you can shop online right now at LEHMANS. But get those entries in to win your $50 gift card to Lehman's. We'll draw at the end of the month from all our entries. PressProsContest@gmail.com. PressProsContest@gmail.com. I'll put it on the crawl at the bottom for those of you who didn't catch it or can't remember it. PressProsContest@gmail.com. Do you have any Reader Speaks emails for us tonight? Or what do you want to say about where you're headed on Wednesday?
We'll talk about that, but before I talk about doing your apple trees, when I show up to prune those apple trees, I'm going to bring a steel chainsaw.
Yes, I know you are, because my apple trees are in need of it. They are in need of it.
Yeah, they need a little bit of thinning. This weekend, the NCAA Division I baseball, all NCAA baseball opens this weekend, and I'm leaving for Thursday morning, actually Wednesday night, to go with the Buckeyes to Port Charlotte. We'll see them play Marshall University on Friday night in their opener, and then back-to-back games with Indiana State and the Brigham Young University, whatever they're called.
Cougars.
Cougars on Monday afternoon. And, the number of people have written by, we've already put some player profiles and stories about the Buckeyes on Press Pros, and some people have written in that follow the team and want to know what kind of team I think they'll be this year. And I'd like to know too, because they're young, because of COVID. They've got 3 very talented freshman teams, freshman classes that are stacked on top of each other because they got the extra year of eligibility. The problem is they're talented, but they just haven't played Division I baseball enough to know how good they are. The good news is, if you're wondering, is the whole Big Ten's that way, because they turned over a lot of good talent last year. They had 27 kids drafted in MLB draft in July. So there's going to be a lot of teams that start out from 0 this year and try to see whose youngins get better the quickest. And I would say it's going to be a race for the finish to see who gets to that Big Ten tournament. I do believe, though, that Ohio State's good enough, if they get off to a good start, where they could be very competitive. I mean, they've got good talent in their pitching staff. It's just that, again, those freshmen and sophomores haven't pitched. And there's going to be good days, and there's going to be some days when you're reminded that you take your lumps sometimes, even if you're talented. So it's on-the-job training. You asked, do we have some people who have written into the Reader Speaks? Here's one from Tony. It says, saw your story today on teams you think have the best chance of making a long tournament run. Are there any average teams, he writes, that you think might surprise someone? And why do you think they would have a chance? Tony, that's an excellent question, and one that I don't think enough people consider. But I'll say this. I know there's a lot of teams that are pretty good that don't have necessarily the record that Kurt Gedemiller has. He just was on here and said I think they're 16-4, 17-4, something like that at this point of the season. A Tri-Village, which is, I think, 18-2 or 17-3 or something like that. Certainly Botkin's in their record. I think they're 18-2. So, but there are a lot of good teams out there that are probably 12-8. And to your question, why do you think they might have a chance? You give me a team with a good pair of guards. Mm-hmm. A team, I'll bring up Tip City again, that have a Gavin Garlitz and a Griffin Caldwell or somebody like that in the backcourt that can handle the ball, spread the court, shoot the 3, force tempo, get some turnovers, get some transition buckets, things like that. The things that, frankly, Fort Laramie has done so well in their girls program over the years. You give me a team with a good pair of guards, and I think on a given night, they can beat a number 1, number 2 seed. If they don't beat them, they're going to make it very close and life miserable. Mr. Hooley, you've seen lots of basketball. What do you say, yay or nay?
Well, I have a concern about Tip's ability to protect the basketball. I think they get going at such a speed because they pressure teams that they sometimes get a little careless with it offensively. But they do have a lot of depth. I like Liam Peronsky. I think he settles them down quite a bit. The night that I saw Stanley Klein, he struggled, but I obviously know he can score in bunches, 17 in a quarter, 33, 34 in a game. The team that I would pick, I agree with you on guard play. I also like a team that has a special player, a guy who, if he needs to score 30, he can do that, or 35. And I'm going to pick a team that's down in the middle of its bracket, is Milton Union. I think they're an 8 or a 9. They got Blake Broomball, who's a phenomenal athlete, great football player, and a really good basketball player, has scored 1,000 career points. So I would look, I'm not talking about a state tournament run, but a team that could win 2-3 games, get to a district final. I'd put Milton Union in that category.
Let me give you one more, because I saw him play Saturday night, and I am a proud alum of Piqua High School, and I'm a growing fan of their first-year coach, Brett Kopp. I've known the Kopp brothers for a long time, and they all have experience in coaching, and Brett has come in there and has made a difference in the culture of that program in the first year. But they've got a youngster there. I think he's a junior, and he'll be a senior next year, named Drayshawn Roberts, who is a baller. He can get to the rim. He's competitive, can shoot it, can defend. Really a great athlete getting up and down the court. He's one of those guards that I just mentioned, along with Bryson Roberts with the Indians. I think the Indians are a threat. They open with Tecumseh on the 16th, but I think they are a threat to possibly get through Tecumseh. Third match with Sydney, and if they get that far, I think they run into a team called Centerville.
That could be a problem.
That might not be so doable, but I think they've got a very good chance of opening some eyes and making a statement with the way that I have seen them play. They just recently, before losing on Friday and Saturday night to Troy and Tip, had won 7 consecutive games, and it has been, someone said 31 years. I don't know if it's been that long, but I know no one has won 7 consecutive games as a coach at Piqua in the 21st century before this year. They've had some winning seasons. Marcus Bixler, when he was there in 05 and 06, I think had 15 win seasons back to back, but to have won 7 consecutive games like the Indians did this year under Brett Kopp is a remarkable step in the direction I know he wants to take that program. I would be a little bit wary of the Piqua Indians.
Very good. I intended to ask Coach Gettemiller of Marion Local, and I totally forgot it, to give us a scouting report on Austin Parks, the 6'10" big man from St. Mary's Memorial who has committed to sign with Ohio State. I would like to have gotten Coach Gettemiller's opinion of Austin, but I'm happy that we'll have a young man from the Press Pros area joining the Ohio State Buckeyes at the same time that another young man from the Press Pros area, Justin Arns, transitions off the roster, if in fact he does transition off the roster, because he could take an extra year, a COVID year that everybody who played during COVID gets a chance to take if they want it. Kyle Young is taking his this year. CJ Walker chose not to. Justin Arns will have that option. He could come back, and if he does, then we'll have 2 people from the Press Pros area, and Justin Arns and Austin Parks. But you've seen Austin Parks, and you told me a long time ago, hey, there's a kid at St. Mary's that Ohio State better take a look at. They not only took a look at him, they liked what they saw, and they got him to sign.
He's got skills. At 6'9", he's got good touch around the rim. He can obviously score. The thing that I like about him going to a place like Ohio State, he's athletic. He used to play tight end on the football team up there, and of course they throw a pass there about every time the Comet Kahutek shows up. So there's not a lot of fun to playing tight end at St. Mary's, but he can run the floor, and he's durable. He's going to get nothing but better. He's about 6'9", I'd say 240, maybe 245. He's got the frame to get up to 260, 265. He may not be done growing, so he may be, by the time they get him, 6'10", 6'11. I don't know, but he's got skills. He's been well coached with Dan Hagemeyer, and he has gone out in the summer and worked very hard to improve those skills. So I really believe that he can go to Ohio State and make an impact there. And I think that your friend and mine, Chris Holtman, will be delighted to have him as part of that program. He's a Big Ten prototype player.
Yeah, and I exchanged a text with Coach the other night, and he was very happy to get Austin Parks, very happy. And he said, that nice to have a homegrown big man. So that's a good thing. Yeah. I neglected to mention when I talked about getting your entries in for your $50 Layman's gift card that if you order online from Layman's, you get 10% off when you use the promo code PressPros10. PressPros10. So use that promo code. And we prefer you use our promo code because then they'll know that you came from the Press Pros area, and you will make us, you will vouch for the comment that we made to Layman's, which is that a lot of people in the Press Pros audience already know about Layman's and already shop at Layman's. And so when you use that promo code PressPros10, you will prove to them that we are in fact accurately representing you as readers and Layman's customers. So PressPros10 and get your entries in for the $50 gift card giveaway at the end of the month by sending them to pressproscontest@gmail.com. We are at the appointed hour, Mr. Folks, unless you have anything else you'd like to get into. We have Ohio State basketball for you tomorrow night against Minnesota. That'll tip off at 8:30. Are the UD Flyers playing tonight, or are they playing tomorrow night? I know Hal is.
They are playing on the road at Rhode Island tonight. They are at Rhode Island tonight playing the Rams.
Chance to get into second place in the Atlantic 10. They had a couple of big wins over the weekend, which you can read about. The Hall of Famer Hal McCoy has that covered with photos from Julie McMacken-Wright on the site at PressProsMagazine.com.
Baseball this weekend. Can't wait to get there. It's about 78, 80 78 to 81 degrees during the days down in Port Charlotte. Our friend Steve Partington's hosting us down there. You can. Jacob Bitt says, "Amen." Jacob, you bet your life. Amen.
Jacob said amen at 9:08 p.m. And I think that was in relation to our perhaps my rant about ticket prices. Maybe not. I don't want to put words in Jacob's mouth. There's our friend Brian Bayless, excellent shooter, says, "Good evening, gentlemen." And Debbie is wrapping up the show tonight. She says, "Great show tonight, guys." And Truman, go to bed. How's Truman doing there, Mr. Folks?
Truman is doing just fine, for anybody that wonders about him. And I don't have Stinky Brown here in the office with me, or I would give her a debut tonight. You know, she hadn't been on in 2022, but I think that snoring I hear downstairs is either Mindy or her. So
I think that's Stinky Brown for sure. The
That
times
might
that I've
be
been
Stinky
over to
Brown.
the Folks Plantation, Stinky Brown is quite the happy French bulldog.
Hey, by the way, it's a big day at the Folks house because the seed catalogs came today.
Fantastic.
That's a sure sign that spring is on the way.
That's a sure sign. Fantastic. Well, check out the site for coverage of OSU baseball. They get underway. Where is it on Friday? They play Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
They play at Port Charlotte, down there where the Tampa Bay Rays play in their spring training facility there. And then they play at Community Park, Centennial Park, I should say, there in Port Charlotte on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday against Indiana State and the aforementioned Brigham Young Cougars.
Good. We'll have Ohio State basketball against Indiana on Saturday. We'll have the Pick with sectional covered for you. Thanks, everybody, for watching the show. You can catch it on the replay. We'll have it up on the front page of the site, but you can always catch it on our YouTube channel. Follow us on our Instagram site, which is, of course, Press Pros Magazine is what you search. Those of you who attend games that we're not covering, you can send us video from games that we might use on our Instagram page. You could win a nice prize from Layman's if you do that. And our Facebook address, of course, is Press Pros Magazine. So the Twitter site at Press Pros Mag. Thanks to everybody for watching. Thanks to Kurt Gettemiller of Marion Local for joining us tonight. We'll see you out and about at all the games you care about. Good night.